Welcome to Geek on Film with your hosts, Robbie Holmes and John Hosch. Hey there, folks. Welcome to episode 22 of Geek on Film. This is Robbie.
Hey, guys, it's John. How are you?
This is exciting. So if you're listening to this as it comes out, Merry Christmas. We're recording this a little bit early. It should be in your feed a little early, which is really exciting. But today we are going to be reviewing Babylon as our main review. And we sort of wanted to try to get this out there early because it seems like there's not a lot of other podcasts, which is really exciting. So we're going to try to get through this. We have a few things to talk about beforehand, but I think it's going to be a very Babylon heavy episode. We'll jump straight into some television. I'm one more episode through Wednesday. I'm now at the point where
so you're on Thursday.
I'm almost at Thursday. I think Uncle Fester shows up in the next episode.
Yeah.
It's so we're getting so close. I hope I'm not disappointed because I feel like I've just been waiting for that the whole time. Like once I heard who it was, I was like, oh God, I can't wait. This is gonna be amazing.
Yeah. You won't be disappointed, but I feel like after that prom dance, like it gets a little like it goes a little downhill from there, but you know it'll finish okay. So you're gonna a good ride.
The current episode is the surprise birthday party, which is really cute, and just the cracking of Wednesday and Enid, and how Enid made her snoot, like all that stuff is really cute. Like the back and forth and seeing a little bit of the cracking of the facade and that Wednesday actually likes Enid is really fun.
Have you gotten to the episode where they quote unquote watch a scary movie?
No.
Okay, cool. Never mind that. There's an episode where they quote unquote watch maybe the scariest movie in Wednesday's view that could happen. So.
It's probably like Wizard of Oz or something like that. All right, cool.
No spoilers.
Let's jump into some films that we watched this week. So, John, kick us off with one of these amazing Christmas movies.
So we're I don't know if Robbie said, but we're filming this a little early because it's the holiday week. So I've kind of been in a holiday mood the whole month.
You went from spooky season to mistletoe, buddy. So
I did, but I kind of kept spooky season in my heart because I was watching a lot of scary Christmas movies, which are I'm finding like I'm enjoying them more than the Hallmark movies. But I digress. One of the first movies I watched this week was Violent Night. I finally got to see it. This is currently in theaters, but now a Christmas gift to everybody. The studio has released it for rental or purchase on any of your streaming services like Amazon Prime or iTunes or whatnot. You can buy it or rent it. So I checked it out. This is the movie that where David Harbour, who you'll know from Stranger Things. He was also in the newest Hellboy movies, the ones that Ron Perlman is not in.
Yep.
He was also in the Black Widow movie. I really enjoy his work. He has one of the best episodes of Hot Ones on YouTube where he eats hot wings. But anyway, in this movie, he plays Santa, and he's a fantastic Santa. And this is like an R-rated action comedy. And the long of the short is that John Leguizamo is the villain, and he invades this rich woman's home who has lots of money, and her whole family's there on Christmas Day. And Santa just happens to be delivering presents at the same time, and he gets wrapped up in this kind of kill the terrorists, hijackers, and save the family. If I didn't say the word Santa, we're talking about Die Hard here. So yes. It's pretty much, everyone says Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and now you have the official Santa Die Hard version. But there are also elements of Home Alone in this. There are elements we're living in we're living in a post Deadpool world where
Ah,
R-rated comedies, R-rated action comedies are much like the Deadpool movies. So here you have very gratuitous violence, some insane kills done by Santa Claus. Um, but it's fun. It was I had a very enjoyable time watching it. Um, Pat Casey and Josh Miller are the writers of this movie, and they wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, which are way more better, way more better.
you
They're
nailed it.
they're so much better than they should be.
Okay.
These two guys understood the assignment, and like I think the Sonic movies are some of the best comic video game movies, if not the best comic video game movies out there. Tom Workola is the director, and I was looking up his IMDb, and he directed um, two very interesting movies that I saw like on like the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day: Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, Red versus Dead, where it's zombie Nazis in the snow kind of movies. Um, so
And they
yeah,
were very gory, if I remember correctly.
yes. So yeah, it's super enjoyable. The thing that I like, I mean, there's not much to the plot and there's not much to the story. That it's just you got to sit back, have your like, have a hot toddy or a hot cocoa with whatever alcohol you want to put in it, and just like enjoy it. You know, if I had to go more into detail and talk more about this movie than I already have, like Santa is totally cynical at this point. He's like, all kids want are video games, and it's like they don't care about anything, and he's like just like not into it anymore. And like this is also like his moment to like rekindle his own love of being Santa Claus and taking care of people. There is also flashbacks to him in his pre Santa Claus life as like a Norse warrior. He's got all these like Nordic tattoos. Because like there's like one point where there's like in action movies where like the lead is like has his shirt off and he's like stitching himself up. That
I've
happened.
heard a little bit of thirst trapping going on. Like, there's a lot of like sexy Santa, is what I hear.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he's like yeah, I could see that. It's kind of like it's the new body type that I aspire to be. I just want to be jacked Santa. Um, as I get more and more salt and pepper in my hair. But yeah, so like the backstory is like he was a Norse warrior. Um, and this kind of like the little girl in this movie kind of like encourages him to tap back into him being a Norse warrior. He used to have a hammer. It's not Mjolnir. But he finds a sledgehammer like in the shed, and he's like, ho ho ho. Or he's got a couple also like not super memorable like catchphrases in this, but they were pretty good. But like you can't really beat like ho 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 or like ho 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 motherfucker. So
Yeah.
the villains in this are really fun. They all have like John Leguizamo's codename is Scrooge, and then there's Frosty, Candy Cane, Tinsel, Jingle, Peppermint, Sugar Plum.
Nice.
It's I mean it's a good adult movie for the holidays if you're just like I don't want to watch Die Hard, so I'm gonna watch this instead.
So I'm going to posit something. Are we in a Leguizamo assance? Like, he's now coming back and been in a bunch of films this year.
Mm,
He was in The Menu, right? And
yeah,
he's,
he was in
I
Encanto.
yeah. So I mean, we've got a lot of John Leguizamo this year, which is a surprise. Like in 2022, I didn't have John Leguizamo is going to be in 3 films I see. That's a pretty cool experience.
I mean, my hope for 2023 is that he has a voice cameo in Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, that
That's
would be fun.
that is my wish. That's my Christmas wish for 2023.
It's not more Norse Santa, because that seems like you were really into
I mean, I'd rather be North Santa,
that.
than I mean, but like I'm a big fan of of David Arbor. Like I think like he elevates any movie that he's in. Like I think he might have been my favorite part of Black Widow, and when he's underused in Stranger Things, I lose interest in Stranger Things. So yeah,
I think one thing I heard about it was I read a review of Violent Night, and it said David Harbour is so invested, no one else in the movie feels as invested as he is. Like, I think it's one thing I've seen with him in general is like that guy gives it his all to whatever character he's playing, and
mhm.
you can feel it. So the idea of him playing like a Jack Santa is just in my head. It plays well, so I can only imagine what it feels like because he genuinely seems to give his all in every role he's a part of, and
Totally.
uh, in general, having a film where he gets to be the lead and he's Santa is pretty cool for him. I think at this point in his career, as a guy who didn't think he would probably like every interview I've heard with him is he really didn't break until he was in his late 30s. And it was a surprise even to him that he was breaking,
Mhm.
and then getting in shape for Hellboy, where he like literally got to be like Jack David Harbour is not what he expected. So I think it's cool that he's getting these like roles and these opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have a parasympathetic experience with him as in every interview. He seems like a genuinely good dude, and everybody always like every photo of him with everybody and all of his casts are like these big hugs and stuff like that. So he seems like a good dude from
Yeah.
the way he's represented on social media.
Yeah. I would definitely I encourage people, yeah, check it out like if you want. I mean, or just like if you don't want to rent it or buy it now, just like next year, definitely check it out when I'm sure it'll be streaming on some service for free or with
Yeah,
your subscription. So,
add it to a
um,
2023 Christmas viewing queue or something like that.
yeah, totally.
I'm going to
So,
jump over and we'll talk about Nanny. So this is a new film that was released on Amazon Prime. It is a film that was shown at a bunch of film festivals earlier in the year, and it is the directorial debut of Nakayatu Jusu. And it is a film where a woman from Senegal comes to be a nanny for upper crusty white couple in New York, and it's a really interesting movie because it's very much scoped around like horror tropes, but um, like stories of horror. I think that are inspired by African folklore. So there's a lot of imagery that I think comes directly from some folklore. Like there's spiders in the corners, there's mold that takes over. There's a lot of things that end up happening throughout the film that are a little off-putting, but
hmm,
the whole movie just feels uncomfortable. You have these amazing experiences of like, here's a woman who comes into someone's house and isn't part of the family but has access and runs their worlds, like, and takes care of their daughter.
right.
So let me name some of the actors that are in this because it's kind of a murderer's row of people I love to watch,
Oh,
which is
cool.
really really amazing. So it's Anna Diop. She's exploding right now. She's so good in this film, but she's been in a bunch of other things and is about to be in a bunch more things, which is exciting. Michelle Monaghan plays the mother, Amy, and I'm a ride or die. Michelle Monaghan's great. She's always believable. In this film, she plays like a sort of slightly disconnected businesswoman, and she's so believable. And it's also really interesting to watch the relationship between Aisha, the nanny, and her daughter grow, and the relationship between her and her daughter wane throughout the film. She's much more comfortable with her nanny. And then the father is Adam. The character's Adam. It's Morgan Spector, who was just in Gilded Age, and he's unbelievable. In this film, he plays sort of a kind of disconnected father who definitely seems like he's cheating on his wife. Gives you lots of impressions that that's the case.
Mm,
The daughter is played by Rose Decker, and she's just this like um, precocious sort of really like unbelievable energy against Anna. Like the two of them together have a really playful but uncomfortable ability to be in one scene they're comfortable in playing, in the next scene Rose is becoming a little monster child and like not listening. And there's only so much that Aisha can do as the nanny, and there's like cameras in the house, so she's aware that the parents are probably watching. So discipline is interesting, right? Like it's all these like uncomfortable moments is what the film feels
Mhm.
like. It's not a movie that you're ever going to be like settled into your couch. It's I often joke like you bought the whole couch but you only use the front 3 inches. Like that's the kind of film this is. You're never going to settle
Mhm.
into this movie, and it's not the
Interesting.
type of film I usually like seek out. But I was really impressed with a lot of the visual choices that were being made. I think Anna Diop is unbelievable, and also the person who ends up falling or interacting with Aisha is Sonequa Walls, and he's unbelievable. He's got this like charismatic believability about him. He plays the security guard in the building. They meet. There's instant chemistry between the two of them. Like it's almost like you feel like you're watching a cartoon. Like there's like lightning like comes out of his eyes when he sees her the first time. Like his eyes like turn into hearts, right? Like it's palpable when you see them the first time. And then they happen to run into one another as she comes off the train in her neighborhood. And they have a really great exchange where he's like, "You're from Africa." And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You gonna tell me?" And she's like, "No." And she's like, "I'm from a country that starts with an S." And he goes through like Sierra Leone. And he's playfully playing with her as he's walking on the street. And then he gets to Senegal and he's like, "Oh, look at me. I figured it out." Like, and there's just so much ease and like game that he has, but
Mhm.
it's so comfortable. Like their interactions are very like playful, and it feels like natural flirtation. Like you've experienced that. Like we all have. When you connect and vibe with somebody, and that spark of getting them to smile for the first time, like it's
Mhm.
so that like so many little aspects of this film just made me feel good, and so much of it was just this deep despair in these other scenes. So it's a really great experience. I think you should watch it. I think the way it ends up is very much a surprise to me, and I did not see it coming. Um, and I think the use of I'm sure this was shot during the pandemic. It's a small film. So much of it takes place in like the apartment of the family, or on the sidewalk, or in the park. They're it feels like it could have been done anytime, but it feels like it's almost tailor made to make during a pandemic.
Mm.
Um, Very clever without it feeling pandemic is the way I
Cool.
would put it. And honestly, just so much good in this film. I think it's probably like, in my opinion, it's probably a 3.5 star film with a heart on Letterboxd, the way I would put it. And I am very interested to see what this writer director does next. The Film Spotting podcast does their annual awards, and they do the Golden Brick Award, which is an up and coming director. And I feel like this is the type of film that they often talk about. Like, I'm intrigued by this film, but I'm more intrigued by what they're about to do after this. Like that's the exciting combination of somebody like this, seeing a directorial debut like this and being like somebody so assured, so confident in the film that they are making. It's very inspiring to know that this is their first film. Like, and like it got the money, it got these people, right? Like there's a lot going on here that you have to think about, like when you're going to wrap an entire budget around this single auteur and it's their directorial debut. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check it out on Amazon
Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna jump back over to some Christmassy goodness before we get into our main review. Not a lot to watch this week, but I did. I've been seeing this image as I was scrolling through my streaming services a lot, and I finally decided to watch A Hollywood Christmas on HBO Max. This is a very cute, almost like there's like a there's like a what is it? There's like a uh what am I trying to say?
I'm leaning in for those of you not watching us. John's doing it. He's doing the best to like pull me into his
Sorry.
worlds.
What? No, seriously. What happened? So I'm I'm all alone, and I'm all of a sudden, my Alexa started playing Christmas music in the background, and it totally threw me off. And I'm like, why why is there Chris? Like, why is she and him playing in the background for Christmas? So it freaked me out.
Violent
I'm back.
Day. It's the
I'm
sequel
back
to
now. I know, right? There's someone in the house. Um, so I went on my phone and I paused my music,
Fine
and now
work,
I
fine
can
work.
now I can focus back on what I was talking about, which was a Hollywood Christmas. This is it's a really funny movie that takes place in, like, for all the times that I talk about Hallmark, like, channel movies. This is a Christmas movie about making Christmas movies. So I think that was really cute, and it's about a director who's trying to finish her latest movie, and the studio comes to her and is like, "Hey, we are cutting our Christmas movie division," and she's like, "What? No, I need to get this movie done." And then the person who told her is a very good-looking kind of studio executive. So
Would this
there's
be
like,
Christopher?
was that what that was?
Josh
Yes,
Switchword?
yes. So yes, and so it's like there's like a Christmas movie happening outside of the Christmas movie. So it's like a movie within a movie. It's very cute. I think, Jessica Van, who is the director. Shout out to her, Asian American pride, uh, i- and I think she's a great leading lady. But also, special consideration and love to Anissa Borrego,
Hmm.
who is like her assistant. Um, this actress has the most recognizable voice that I've never heard before, and it's so high pitched and so cute. She's like the assistant to the director, played by Jessica, and she's the one who's like, "Oh my god, you're in a Christmas movie," and like she always pops into the screen as like, "Oh my gosh, this is the big thing that you're gonna have to overcome," or it's like, you can't kiss him yet because it's not snowing yet, but this is the Christmas miracle." So it's like it's really charming. It's on HBO Max. This is a movie that I feel like could have been on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how it made it over to HBO Max, but it did. But I'm happy I found it, and
So I
and
have a question.
hopefully,
Missy Pyle's in it. Does she have anything fun to do? She played Teresa Frost.
yeah. So Missy Pyle, she is the studio executive.
Okay.
She does a little bit of singing. She's the person that they have to convince to keep the um the
The
Christmas
holiday
division
film division.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but she comes in later in the movie, so she's kind of like a little bit of a reveal as well.
Cool.
So yeah.
Awesome. I feel like this is the kind of thing you are much more willing to jump in and be like, here's a wacky Christmas movie I'm going to spend 90 minutes of my life in. But I think it's the kind of thing that like my wife loves. Like I came home after seeing Babylon last night. I walked in the door at like 11:45 because I went to like an 8 o'clock showing, and there's just the end of a Lifetime movie happening when I walk in the door, and she's snuggling with the dog, and I'm like, yeah, this makes total sense. It was nice for me to be out of the house so she could watch a bunch of Christmas stuff. So I think we should jump in. We have a new section this week because we've been lucky enough to see a lot of these films and review them ahead of time, but they're getting wider releases this week.
Hmm.
So we're going to call it the release recommendations. So this week you've got, as of today, Glass Onion: The Knives Out Mystery is available for streaming on Netflix. We've done a full podcast main review of it, and we also did a review of it in passing on our Middleburg podcast about the Middleburg Film Festival. So that's available on December 23rd on Netflix. If you haven't yet seen it, uh, I don't know that we can give it a higher recommendation. I had such a great experience seeing it the first time. I was really
Oh yeah.
excited to see it again. I'm really excited to watch it with my wife and possibly her mom this upcoming weekend. I think it's going to be it's a great old fashioned modern take on the whodunit.
Yeah.
It's charming and fun. The cast is amazing. It's sort of the idea of best ensemble that you see in things like SAG. I think this is a film that is eminently part of that conversation.
Hmm. Yeah, totally agree.
The next one is we get a limited release of Women Talking in theaters on Christmas Day. I guess again a film that should probably be part of the best ensemble conversation. It's an unbelievable cast across the board. There's I think like 8 main female characters and then one male character that spends most of the film with them.
Mhm.
Boy, what an amazing film! It's still hovering right near the top of my list of the year. Um, it's powerful. It's moving. I'm a little concerned with their tap dancing around with release dates that happened. It was supposed to be a limited release at the beginning of December, so it would have been in full release by Christmas, and they've decided to move it to Christmas Day, not even the 23rd or the 22nd, for its limited release start, and then it goes wide in January. So I don't know if they're trying to ride the wave into the Academy nominations, but I, it feels like they're playing a dangerous game here of not enough people seeing it, and critical buzz happening. There was huge critical buzz for this all throughout the film festival circuit, but it's been very quiet, and I'm really interested to see how this unfolds this week.
Yeah, it seems like a very interesting movie to release on Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's definitely not an uplifting film as a starting
Mm,
point.
yeah,
But
very
it is.
intense.
We did discuss it a little bit in our podcast about Middleburg. I was it was my the experience of seeing it there was one of my favorite experiences of this year. Only trumped by Triangle of Sadness. I think that is my one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had at a theater. And then the next one will be White Noise. So we're probably not going to get back to you before December 30th. And White Noise, the new Noah Baumbach film, will be released on Netflix on the 20th on the 30th. It'll also get a limited release in theaters, so it'll be definitely getting an Oscar for the Oscar nomination possibilities. But we talked about it a little bit on the Middleburg Film Festival podcast because I got to see it there. I think it's a film you should go into with your eyes wide open. It's based on a novel that people felt like was unfilmable and was sort of not able to be made into a movie. In
Mhm.
the end, I was I had never read the novel. I was pleasantly surprised by the film. And I think Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig are an amazing duo to put on film as a couple, and they're just both amazing actors. It's such a fun film in the weirdest ways. And
Mhm.
Noah Baumbach is a blast. I'm so excited to see what ends up happening. I don't know how it's going to be taken by the public at large. I think the critics have either loved it or been like meh, but I think there's for the right people, that's the kind of film that really will get stuck in your head and you'll never stop thinking about it. There's so many like visuals in this movie that are really fun. In the trailer, you see that their station wagon, ends up in like a creek and is sliding down the creek sideways. And there's a really great sequence where the kids are having this fight and conversation in the car, and finally Adam Driver's like, "Is anybody going to acknowledge that we're in a river?" Like, it's really quirky and fun, and has that like sort of like almost fable like quality to its storytelling. And Adam Driver plays this really broad caricature esque character, and is grounded in it, which is unbelievable. Like he's both extremely broad and very relatable, which I don't know
Mhm.
is possible. It's a combination, I think, of really great writing by Noah Baumbach and Adam Driver just really being aligned to what the director is trying to do.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see that one. I was not able to catch it yet, so it is in theaters. I think now though.
I think it might have a limited release right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did a quick search. It's not playing near me. I mean, I could go into the city and see it at the Angelica,
Yeah.
and then there's one theater in all of New Jersey that's playing it.
So probably one of those like extremely limited openings, maybe like 300 theaters or something like that would be my guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But
The
some really
Uber art
interesting films
houses.
that I feel like I was lucky enough to get to see a little bit early. All three of those I saw at Middleburg, and it's definitely making me look forward to next year's Middleburg. Just the fact that all these films are landing one after the other.
Hmm.
Um, Super fun. So I think that's it for recommendations. We should jump into our main review. So here we are, John.
Here we are.
Babylon.
So we're going to talk about Babylon. Written by Damien Chazelle. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I think it's Chisnell.
It's Chisnell.
I believe so.
Written directed by
Or
him. You
Chisel. Yeah.
you may have known him from La La Land. What else has he done?
Whiplash.
Ah, yes. Yeah. He wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I was not aware of. So that's a quick skim of his IMDb.
Yep.
Uh, so Babylon is his kind of 3 hour and 8 minute opus of the transition in Hollywood from silent films to talkies and how that affects a varied group of people, I would say. You have Brad Pitt, who is like, like a silent movie leading man, action star, top of his game. You have Margot Robbie, who is like the starlet up and coming in the silent movie world. And then you also have Gene Smart in the movie, who is like the Hollywood critic. You have Diego Calva, who kind of comes from nothing. He seems like he's like he wants desperately to just be a part of Hollywood,
Yep.
and you kind of witness his kind of rise from like not knowing where he wants to, like how he wants to be a part, and then all of a sudden just getting thrown into like all these like insane tasks, and he just succeeds at all of them, um, until he ascends to being a studio executive. Um, You also some other people that I think are worth mentioning is you have Jovan Adepo, who plays Sidney Palmer, who he's a black trumpet player, and with and he was always playing these parties and stuff, these insane parties that they would have, um, and then he gets kind of hired to play on set when they become live music, and then all of a sudden the camera gets turned on him in the sense that he is more interesting sometimes than what they are wanting to film, so he kind of becomes a quick rising star.
Yep.
um and then I would say Lee Jun Lee is an interesting story of a Chinese or like a Chinese American who was in at least in the movie, she's like in the studio, but not in front of the camera aspect. She is the person who kind of writes this. Like it seems like in silent films they just like film stuff,
Yep.
and then like Lee Jun Lee's character was the one who kind of like writes the dialogue afterwards and puts it on slates. Um, so kind of seeing her role and her jobs in the world of Hollywood was pretty interesting. Um, yeah, I'm gonna throw it over to you
Sure.
to hear a little bit of what you thought, and then we can start bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah. So I think this is a film that I was really excited to see. I have been I so one other film that we should note is in Damien Chazelle's background is also First Man. So it was Whiplash, La La Land, First Man. He did a film called The Stunt Double, which I didn't see, and Babylon. So that is the sequence that we've gone through with him as a director. I feel like my first thought going into this is going to be sort of his answer to La La Land. I feel like he got a lot of criticism of being like a tourist in Hollywood and feeling like there was a gauze put in front of the lens all the time about like his love and his love of and not knowing Hollywood and so it was a very like almost people talked a lot about like La La Land feeling like a naive approach to Hollywood. And this, I think, is almost positioned as like the answer to that. Like La La Land is just like, cool. I love Hollywood. This is just like we're gonna go deep into Hollywood lore, warts and all, and show it for what it was. And the film is not what I expected. Is the way I would put it. There's a lot more in it that is visceral and disturbing than I was expecting. It's not the type of thing I've seen him do as a director before, but I also think he has pulled together an unbelievable cast to tell this story. And it's driving music from the opening scene all the way through the credits, really keeps your heart rate elevated. And then add on top of it this unbelievable cast doing some really wacky stuff at times. Margot Robbie's character is a wannabe starlet at the beginning of the movie. Drives up to the house of a big giant party that's happening. It's a studio party. Fatty Arbuckle is in it in a quick moment. Sort of, there's a lot of nods to people across the silent film world. And a lot of people that are a part of that space. I am not a silent film historian. I listened to a podcast, Film Spotting, this week, where one of the people on it has an entire Substack dedicated to silent films, and she talked about the fact that there's so much history brought to the screen in Babylon. Like, so much of what is here is inspired by real films that happened, real people in the studio system. Almost 100% of the time. Like, somebody made a comment about like Brad Pitt's wives, Jack's wives, all being like one note, and she very pointedly said, like, these are based on real people. Like, it's slightly heightened in the movie, but this is who these people were. And I think that's what we're seeing here is sort of a slightly distorted historical view of what Hollywood was like in this time period. And so let's start with the things I really loved. I love Margot Robbie. I think she is a charisma machine. Like, she's also, her character's a chaos monkey. From the moment she arrives on screen, you can't take your eyes off of her. No one can take their eyes off her. No character, the audience, the characters in the movie, right? Like, we're all enchanted at the same time, which is unbelievable. And it's and on top of the fact that, like, she is the center of attention, she's also this extremely insecure woman who is not of that world. She's a kid from Jersey who is bolstery to the point of like bravado, but lives in a world where everything revolves around her from her perspective. But it's all sort of fake. She turns into, she does every drug possible. She's constantly gambling, right? Like, there's a lot of downfalls to that also. I feel like there's lots of ways her excess comes back to haunt her all throughout the film. But at the beginning, you get this really great moment of her like pulling up to the party and crashing into a fountain in front of the house, and the security guard being like, "Ma'am, you're gonna have to pay for that." And then he asks her name, and she's like, tells him his name, and is like, "You're not on the list." And she's like, "Of course I'm on the list." And like, that's when we run into Manny, the character played by Diego, and he is basically the assistant who's responsible for getting the party and taking care of all the crap that needs to be done for a party. And he's like, "Yeah, she's with me," because he's immediately enthralled with her. So, there's a really great moment of like watching Margot Robbie go from this sort of chaos monkey at the beginning to being really revered as a silent film star. And then as the talkies start happening, her downfall, right? Like, she's not well spoken. They characterize her ability to, be in spoken film because she doesn't have a great voice and she doesn't memorize things well. And she's not like a classically trained actress. So you get a lot of that also coming back on her. I would say like Brad Pitt probably deserves an Oscar nod for this film as a best supporting actor. He is so good as the sort of 82 films into his career actor from the silent film era that moves into the talkies and can't find any footing. Time's passed him by. The film industry's passed him by, and he's so good as this sort of extremely confident, extremely broken older actor. It almost reminds me a little bit of Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but less over the top, like less explosive.
Yeah, because like I mean, I think that the entire I think that this I think it's a great cast, and I think they're super talented from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I personally had I had issues with just I think that to me, the characters besides Brad Pitt were not written to be very likable characters.
Yep.
I like as the movie progressed, I started not liking like Margot Robbie performed amazingly,
Yes.
but I was like, I hate this character. And unfortunately, like Manny, like Diego Calva's character Manny, he loves her, and like he says in Spanish like he loves her like almost immediately.
Yep.
Um, but it's almost like a as the movie goes on, like their lives kind of go in and weave in and out of each other until the very end, where they're like very closely woven together. But she's given him no reason
Yeah.
to love, like for him, like she throughout the entire movie, like there's no reason why he should love her
Yeah.
except the fact that like he's like enthralled by her. And maybe because I'm like, maybe TM, like maybe I've been in those predicaments before when I was much younger, but I was like, you're a effing idiot, and F you for being an idiot.
Yeah, it's hard because he's, I think, supposed to be our surrogate, right? We're supposed to see the world a
Right.
little bit through his eyes. So
Yes.
when we first meet Margot Robbie's character, right, like she's bigger, she's this like chaos machine, right? Like she
Hmm.
just generates chaos wherever she goes, but is
Yeah.
also the life of the party, is all that. And without her realizing it, she has walked past the person who probably cares about her the most,
Hmm.
and doesn't even acknowledge it, you know,
Yeah.
and they constantly, right, they keep ending up in the same orbits. He ends up becoming a studio executive. He tries desperately to save her career when the talkies become a thing. You're like,
Yeah. And she
and
keeps blowing it,
yeah,
like it's just, uh, it, if the idea is to show that like the Hollywood system corrupts everybody, yeah, this movie totally succeeded. Um, I found like Brad Pitt's character to be kind of the most relatable in the film, because he's just a guy who like he was on top of his game, and he didn't and he knew he was on top of his game, and it was interesting because he was always like, we have to push the art form, movies, move, because like back in those days, like theater was very elitist, and like theater was considered acting, and then movies were not. But like he was like, if you look at theater and film now, it's like everyone wants to be in film, and he was forward thinking in that way, but he didn't have the goods to deliver once they once he got there.
yeah,
And I think that was very tragic. And um like, yeah, I felt like he was the most well-rounded character, um that was that was written in the movie.
yeah,
It's interesting how the movie starts, because like even before the title shows, we have this super long, super extravagant, super graphic
yeah,
party. It's the thing that is in all the trailers. It's in the
yeah,
movie poster. Um, it's just like debauchery to an 11.
yeah,
But even before that, which I like, which was interesting, is like you have like an like a just like a dirt patch field, and all of a sudden this like really nasty truck pulls up, and they have to get this elephant in this truck to be a part of this party. They're pushing this elephant with two cars up this huge hill.
yeah,
It starts to fall back, and then all of a sudden, graphically, this elephant shits all over this guy.
yeah,
And what a way to start a movie about Hollywood. And I was
yeah,
like, you definitely have something to say.
yeah,
You definitely have something to say about Hollywood, and or or what exactly are you trying to say? But the movie is it's very intense,
yeah,
and it's a sensory overload. And to me, I was like so overloaded before even the word Babylon hit the screen, that I was like, I need a break. Like I
yeah,
need an intermission. Um, so yeah, it was. I mean, there's I liked a lot of elements in this movie, but I'm not sure if I had the best time watching this movie.
So I think I was trying to think about this last night because I just saw it last night. So it's been
Mhm.
less than 12 hours since I finished watching the film. And I think for me, it's like a 3.5 to 4 star movie that I didn't like, is the way I would put it.
Mhm.
Like, there's so much good going on in this film. I think Margot Robbie is unbelievable. I think that Brad Pitt is fantastic. I think, Diego Calva is really good as our surrogate. I'm really impressed. Jean Smart is fantastic. She gives like one of the best speeches about Hollywood and
Mhm.
to Brad Pitt's character, because she writes an article about him being washed up, basically. And they've known each other for a long time, but she's like genuine and honest with him in a way that no one else is. Um, it's unbelievably powerful. Like, there's tons of really great little cameos. You've got Flea playing an executive and he's really good. Like, he shows up and he's like a different energy than everybody else.
He's having a good year too.
He really is.
Didn't what else was he in recently? I forget, but anyway.
He was in Mandalorian.
Was he in Bodies too? Also?
uh, I don't know. He was in one of the Star Wars television shows for sure. He steals Leia, so it might have been Obi-Wan.
Oh, yes, he was in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, he's having a pretty good year for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that here's my biggest gripe with the film. It is not the graphic nature. It is not. It feels like Damien Chazelle was like, I have one film to make for the rest of my life, and I'm going to put it all on the screen. The movie's 3 hours and 7 minutes long. I think that I was able to count like 5 distinct storylines. I think there are really 3 major leads of the film in lots of ways.
Mhm.
You could even expand it to maybe 4, to be honest. If we think like Margot Robbie's character, Brad Pitt's character, Diego Calva's character, and the trumpet player.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jovan Adepo, Sidney Palmer is his
yeah, so
character.
Sydney, like those 4 are the main leads of the film. So much so that I think there could have been 2 films here, right? Like, I almost wish he had created before Babylon and after Babylon. Like, if
Mhm.
he had cut this film in half, I'm sure there's more footage on the cutting room floor that could have fleshed out either one of them, and then they could have cut some of the stuff that feels like fat in each one of those sections. I think there's
Yeah.
like 2 good hour 38-minute films secretly trapped inside this film.
Yeah.
Because I was seriously exhausted. I
Oh
saw
yeah.
I saw an 8 o'clock showing. I was fine going in. I wasn't tired. I drove home. I was sort of
Yeah.
on a high because I was really excited to see this film. So it wasn't my physical exhaustion. I was mentally worn out by the end of this film.
Yeah. I mean, there are multiple times in the film where I was like, cool, credits, let's go. I was like, and credits,
Yeah.
and done, and done. Yeah, the film seems overly indulgent at parts, and I feel like it's a bit of a book report. I felt a little I felt like it was a little hollow in like, I'm gonna tell you everything about this time period, and I'm not gonna leave anything out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I felt like the performances were great, but like what they had to say, what they were doing, there was like there was like something missing, and um, I cannot not like, I can't get over the fact that um this is just Singing in the Rain. It's an R-rated version of Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain is one of my top 3 movies of all time. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? This is I was like, am I just I'm just watching like an R-rated version of Singing in the Rain, and then all of a sudden, not in the right time period, they start singing in the rain in the movie.
Yeah.
And I got so confused. I'm like, okay, so like, I know these characters are based off of real characters, but this must be an alternate timeline where somehow they're doing Singing in the Rain. And then, I mean, spoilers abound. Like, years go by, and at the end of the movie,
I wouldn't say who the character is that sees it, but
okay, but at the end of the movie, they go see Singing in the Rain.
yeah.
And I was like, wait, Singing in the Rain came out in like 1950, like the late 50s. That would make this character like ancient who's
No,
seeing
it
this.
was 52, which is I think the year that we were supposed to be in.
Okay, well, then thumbs down to makeup and effects because that person didn't age a day.
He had a little pooch in his stomach, but other than that, he didn't look much. Yeah.
But at this point too, this is why I felt like it felt like a book report. And it's like there was and to summarize part of the movie. And I was like, first off, like when I had seen the movie, um, there was a elderly couple sitting near me
Wow. Okay.
who decided they needed to talk about the movie and discuss the movie as it was going on through the entire time. They were so confused at this point. They were like, "What is happening?" And I was just like, I grew up. First off, I don't know where I'm going with all of this. First and foremost, I grew up loving Singing in the Rain. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, like I said.
Mhm.
I also loved this thing called like That's Hollywood, which was a TV series on PBS hosted by Gene Kelly and everything like that. And it kind of went through like, like a documentary series about like the creation of all this stuff. And that's exactly what we got at the end. It was
Mhm.
just to summarize, here's everything that's good or everything that's bad about Hollywood. I just like was like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And in hour 3, this is where we're going. Like that's why I felt like it was a very book reporty.
Yeah. I'm I don't want to talk anymore about the details near the end or the last like 40 minutes of the film.
Mhm.
There's a character that shows up that is played by, it's a crazy cameo. He is chewing the scenery. And then
It was an eye roll for me, to be
it,
honest.
it literally just feels like you went into a different film for about 25 minutes
Mhm.
that I don't think
They
needs
were
to be
also a
there.
producer on the film, by the way.
It doesn't, in my opinion, add anything to the story except if any of this is true, boy, Hollywood was more depraved than we were aware. But the acknowledgement, the one thing I do want to call out that might make you laugh, I don't know how you felt. They get to that spot in the film, and there's like a Palachi Italian clown sitting under a
Mhm.
street light. None of this made. I was like, well, how did that person? I want to see that guy's film. Like, I want to see
Mhm.
the film of like how that guy ended up sitting there when they're coming in,
Yeah.
because it's just so random. There's so much randomness that happens in that like 30 minutes. You mentioned you felt like it was a little self indulgent. I think this is a film that to me proves that sometimes we need auteurs to have a little bit more of an editorial feel to their final product.
Mhm.
Because this is a film, like you said, it overindulges in the details.
Mhm.
It tries to tell you everything it knows about the subject
Yes.
matter, and it's not a refined story. It just feels like it's like hundreds of pages of a script thrown onto the screen, and we're gonna kind of tell 4 stories in that 175 pages of script.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, am I not smart enough? Am I not missing what this is? Is this like a Greek tragedy? Is this like the Odyssey? Like is this Faustian now? Like are we in the rings of hell? Like I kept question like once you get into like hour 2:30, you're like why is this stuff happening?
Yeah.
Am I missing something? And you're thinking so much about why things are being told instead of listening to what's being told to you.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's tough. It's
I,
I
I
did.
feel like
I
this is the second film this year that I've seen Margot Robbie in where she was awesome, and
mm,
the film let her down, in my opinion.
hmm What
Um,
was the first one off the top of my head?
Amsterdam.
Ah, right, right. Yeah. Well, we've got Barbie, and I think she's gonna kill it in Barbie.
I am yes, I am so excited about Barbie. I think that's I don't know that there's much more that we can say about it. I think my biggest thing is if you're gonna see this film and you're interested in it, know going in it's a lot darker and a lot more depraved than you thought it was. I do not know how this film didn't get an NC-17 rating.
I totally agree. Like when you're literally when you're watching the first 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, like once you officially get into that opening party, I was like, Blonde gets an NC-17, but this doesn't get an NC-17. Who's getting paid off here? You know what I mean?
It's
Or what did they cut to
yeah.
make the R rating? I'm
Right.
so
There's
confused.
probably like a 3 hour and 40 minute cut of this film that has got more debauchery, and they were like,
Mhm.
well, you can't have this, and you can't have like,
Yeah.
but I will say, like, it's not just so it's like it's sex, it's sexual kink, it's violence, it's drug use, it's gunplay, it's not like there's just so many things in this
Mhm.
film that any one of them could have tipped it over the edge. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I came out of the theater thinking like, God, this would be a really strange film to take my mom to see. Like
Mm.
it's the kind of film that like my mom is born in 1940. So it's a film that the second half of it all takes place in her lifetime, and
Mhm.
she would have likely seen a lot of these talkies. I know my dad did for sure. He was one of those kids that went to the Nickelodeon, right? Like, and
Mhm.
for 8 cents or whatever, saw 3 films. But I think there's a really interesting place here for who is the audience for this film. That was the other thing I
Mhm.
kept trying to figure out. Like, okay, cool. This is like a bombastic, over the top version of what Hollywood was. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of books that have talked about this. I think the title actually comes from a book that was written about those silent picture era film times.
Mhm.
Um, it's yeah, I don't know who the audience is for this. Like, this is not a general consumer type film. I don't even know where I would market this.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have the trailer that we have, because I think it's very misleading.
Yes.
It doesn't really, it shows you all like the sexy actiony comedic stuff
Yeah.
about the movie, but does not show you any of like the excessive drug use.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of heartbreak and a lot of sadness in the film. Um,
Yeah, my walkaway is like sadness, right? There's a melancholy in this film
mhm.
that I wasn't expecting.
And yeah, the thing that I forgot the thought I was about to say, but I remembered another thought.
Okay.
So one of the scenes I really, really thought was very cool, um, was them watching the jazz singer for the very first time,
Yep.
and they thankfully they don't actually show actual footage of Al Jolson in blackface, but you see the audience
Yep.
witnessing someone a talking film, projections of light making sound for the very first time.
Yeah.
And then they just like erupt in applause, euphoria. It's like the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life. And it made me think, I don't know if we'll ever experience that kind of moment in our life. I was literally trying to think. I'm like, well, 3D didn't do that.
Come on, man.
Like
Pandora. Pandora
four,
did it.
but not to the point where people are like going insane. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
VR, you can't. VR is such an individual experience that you can't share it with people.
Yeah.
Um, Like I'm just like I was like, wow, when people like saw in a movie theater like like lights and sound at the same time, like what that must have been like. And I can't think of anything that can compare to it, which kind of makes me sad, but makes me very happy for the people who got to experience it. And I also think it's funny that in that very moment, Manny's character like barely like he practically misses it
Yeah.
because he's wrapped up with Margot Robbie's character, and he kind of like comes in at like the very end and sits in the movie and like I don't think he really takes in what was on the screen, but he just takes in what everyone else was reacting to, and then calls Brad Pitt's character back up and is like, "This is going to be the future." It's like, yeah, um, I don't know. Can you think of anything in our lifetime, or do you? Can you look into the future, into your Robbie crystal ball, and like, what do you think? It's something comparable to sound and film being married together.
Um, I think if you go back and you think about it, the biggest probably transition like that was um, the system that played Pong was not widely distributed, but the first Atari 2600 is probably as
Mm.
close, or the Nintendo, the NES.
Hmm.
Those are probably the two biggest transitions, but that's an at-home experience that you could have had
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah,
So maybe it's the beginning, the birth of the like video game era would be, but I don't know if it had the same impact, right? Like there
yeah.
was a giant leap from pinball to the first video games.
Sure, yeah.
Um, and I think that was, we all take that for granted today, but I think there's the other one is the PC, right? Like the
Mhm.
birth of going from vacuum tubes to microprocessors, I think is another one, right? Like when you can go like from a computer, a computing machine taking up an entire warehouse to having more power in my pocket than
Mm.
NASA did when they went to the moon.
It's insane, right?
you
Yeah.
know I think there but there's nothing as dramatic as what you're talking about from my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, even like the introduction of Technicolor and color into film, I think it's like that's a huge step forward, but like just like bring giving these, you know, these these flickering little pictures of light that move
Yeah.
a voice was such a huge impact on the world.
One
Yeah.
last person I want to shout out is the woman who plays the director.
Oh
um,
yeah.
so Olivia Hamilton is in this film as Ruth Adler, who's directing Margot Robbie's character in her first silent film. And that sequence is one of my favorite. It maybe like maybe I'm leaning in. Next week we're going to do a 2022 wrap up show where we talk about all of our favorite things from the year. And I think one of the segments should probably be favorite scenes. And
Mm.
watching Ruth ask, um, what's her name? What is her character's name? Uh,
Nellie
Nellie.
Leroy.
Yeah, asking Ruth asking Nellie if she can cry, and then them making a joke about like fake tears, and the assistant director. Like all that sequence is really fun. And then
Mhm.
when you see her for the first time, they call action, and there's like a prolonged like 3 beat, and then Margot Robbie cries on command and has these welling tears. Like I came home and was talking to my wife about it when I got home. Then her being asked to do it again and take a pause of like 2 seconds before the tears well and
Yeah.
fall, and then the third time of like having it be a single tear. There's so much like rolled up in excitement in that one 3 minute sequence. If the rest of it where she's like flirting with the men in the bar and all that is fun, but the first time you see her reacting is like so unbelievably moving. And the fact that she has this natural ability that she doesn't need to fake tears, that like we get a chance. It's sort of in my opinion, the high point of how we see her character. Like she
Mhm.
has this natural charisma and is good at this, what she's being asked to do. And that's the
Yeah.
last time we see that. Like it's so pure in that moment. But the reaction from the director is what I loved. Like her genuine, like, we found something new, right? Like it's almost the same as like when they hear sound in the film for the first time. This director's worked with so many actors that she's just like, there's no way this diamond in the rough is going to be a diamond, right? Like, and you
Mhm.
get that moment where you see her react to this next up and coming starlet, and it's just there's so much exuberance in that scene, and it's so much fun. And it might be my scene of the entire film, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a really great one, and she's really great in it.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's so much fun with that actress. I think she is sort of part of Damien Chazelle's troupe. She's been in La La Land. She's been with him a couple of times. And
she's married to him.
oh, there you go. I wasn't
I mean,
aware of
that's
that.
and I'm not going to say nepotism, but I mean, they're
She
they're they're
steals that
very close.
scene. I mean,
Yes,
it's
yes,
unbelievable. Like as much as everything else that's going on, there's also the first time they're making a talkie, and the sound guy is
yes.
driving everybody crazy. And watching the crushing defeat of her trying to direct a talkie because
Hmm.
everything isn't as easy as
Yeah,
shooting a silent. But like watching her go from like this exuberance at the beginning to like we're making a talkie, it's going to be amazing, to like by the time they get to the third take and it's another cut, and then the sound guy calls cut because he's like, there's a squeaking noise, this is ridiculous, and he comes around the room with like a toner trying to figure out where the sound is, and then he's like, did you have surgery? And she's, there's this admittance that she has like a pin in her ankle, and he's like, don't
yeah.
move your right ankle. Like,
It's so interesting too, like back in those days, like how sensitive all that stuff was, and how far
yeah.
things have come since then.
I think she has this really great arc in the film. You see her a bunch of different times, but she adds so much seasoning to the scenes with Margot Robbie. They have really good chemistry, but she doesn't overpower any one of those scenes. But it's all about her affect and you believing who she is, what she's doing. She's powerful in those scenes, and I think we
Yeah,
should acknowledge those types of little performances also. I think she's just
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, and so much so, like I remember enjoying every moment that she was on screen, and then not like like not to in the 3 hours and 8 minutes that we got. I was Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, what happened to her as
Yeah,
like what happened to that character as time progressed? Because also in the movie, when it's the silent films, it seemed like it was the Wild West, but it was so much more. Everything seemed kind of like almost modern day, where it's like you had a woman director, and I was like,
yeah,
what? But that's amazing. And you had, I mean, granted, you had like blackface and things like that, and you had like people like like being savages, and that's not very good. But the movie seemed to show you that like once we got into like talkies, then everything started becoming more and more elitist and more conservative,
yeah.
and like it was interesting. So I was like, wait, are you trying to say that like we were better off with silent films, or I don't know?
I don't know what the thesis was. I'm with you.
Yeah,
My big takeaway is like I don't know. Was life better then? Was Hollywood better? Like
yeah,
it's
right.
confusing.
Like, yeah, it's just like you would think with 3 hours and 8 minutes that you would have a clear voice, but too much time sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think there's a clear through line, and the only really clear story that I walked away from was Jack's. Like
Hmm.
his story has an absolute beginning, middle, and end for me, and almost no one else's does. Manny's sort of does, but like it peters out.
Yeah,
We don't get a satisfying conclusion. But Jax, I think, is the one that people will be talking about for a long time. I think his performance in this is very like assured leading man in a
hmm,
character role, which I think is exactly where Brad Pitt shines the most,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah. I also think that his character was the most well written, um, because I think like if you like, I think Brad Pitt is a great actor. I think that he does a certain thing, and if you put the right words in his mouth, it all comes across amazingly. Like what I'm trying to say is like he's not doing anything different that he did in like some of the other movies that he's recently done where he's like, I'm the old guy
Yeah.
who's stoic. But the material's really good for him.
Yes.
So that mixed with what he does, it's golden.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm good. I'm. It's a film I think that's going to stick with me for a long time. It's so we can talk about the value of art, right? I don't think
mhm.
this is a film I will forget. I don't think this is a film I don't know if I will buy it in 4K Blu-ray, but if it's not streaming in a high resolution, I will probably end up buying it. I'm so enamored with the soundtrack and the score. I
Yes.
expect that I will have that on vinyl sooner rather than later. Um, I expect that there are scenes in this film that will be used in a lot of people's Academy Award, Lifetime Achievement Award type audience experiences. When Brad Pitt receives a Lifetime Award, or Margot Robbie, or these are all scenes that will follow them forever, right?
Well, they look great in them. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the ability to like also shoot the movie set in the 20s and the 30s, the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and so much of it just looks like everybody's sweating. Like Margot Robbie is
Mm.
like dewy and like sweating all throughout the film because she's doing a ton of drugs, but like that adds to the visceral feeling, especially that opening party. Right, I'm just happened to see like the video, the trailer, and her laying on the floor smoking a cigarette in that red dress, and it's just that is the visceral feeling of like the party atmosphere in that first 20 minutes. I don't know that anybody else has captured that on film in a long time and made me feel like this is debauchery central. Like
Hmm.
it's an unbelievable first 20 minutes, and I think there are clips of that that'll be used for a long time for a lot of these actors.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I totally. I also second the idea that, or the statement you made, where the music is just phenomenal. It's intense at some points, like
Yes.
it hits you in the face, but it's like such great music.
Well, it's
And
driving, and it's also
yeah,
diegetic, right? Like sometimes it is the music being played by the people in the scene,
yeah,
and it
exactly.
really just makes the film feel more visceral and more alive. It's not like a part of the background of the world. It is the world, right? The music
Hmm.
envelops the scenes in ways that I don't know that. This is one thing that I think Damien Chazelle does better than almost anybody else, is that the use of music as a vehicle. He almost like, if like Quentin Tarantino is the king of needle drops, Damien Chazelle is the king of like using music as like a jet stream for his films. Like he
Mm.
attaches the film to the music, and it drives. It's cadence, it's tempo, it's he chooses very well how to pace his films around his music.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, almost since like Spielberg and John Williams, right? Like some of those pairings where like you cannot extrapolate Raiders of the Lost Ark or E.T. away from those themes, right? I think this is a film that like if you took away the soundtrack and the score, it wouldn't work as well. I think it's driven so much by the music.
yeah. Oh, by the way, because I have the IMDb page up for reference as we're doing this. It constantly plays the trailer
Yeah,
on repeat. That that person that you didn't want to spoil is in the trailer now. They've changed it.
I mean, I've definitely seen him in a trailer. It's
Yeah,
it's a caricature esque role.
yeah,
It's very bizarre and doesn't
yeah.
feel like it's in the same film. So yeah, good luck with that last 30 minutes, folks. It's a film you should see because a lot of people are going to be talking about it. I think there'll be a lot of conversation about the below the line awards. I think there's some definite possibilities here for a few above the line categories. It would be very surprising if this got nominated for Best Picture, if it got nominated
Yeah.
for Screenplay, if it got nominated for. I think Diego has a chance in Best Actor. That's a weird, soft, like, but I don't know that he has. There's so many leads in this film. It would be very hard for any one of them to feel like an actual lead.
Yeah. Like I just because of the way the world works, I would think that like you might want you like some people would switch them, but I think if anyone's nominated as far as like male identifying actors go, like Brad Pitt would get like best lead, and Diego would get like best supporting.
And I think it's probably flipped if you talk about the tone of the film and the
Sure.
runtime. And I think that the best supporting actor world is a little harder to road to hoe this year.
Mhm.
So Brad dropping in there would be an interesting addition of chaos because he's really good in this film. I don't think he's revelatory, but I think what he's doing is the character's well written. I think he does a really good job.
Right. But also, the man doesn't need awards anymore. He won his award.
Yeah,
He said he was going to retire, and then he puts out these like really great performances, possibly not the greatest movies,
yeah,
but really great performances post like I'm alluding to my retirement.
yeah. There's something they talk about a lot on the Rewatchables podcast about like taking stock and buying stock in an actor or an actress. I think if you bought stock in Margot Robbie from The Wolf of Wall Street, no one has paid out more dividends, in my opinion. And I think the next
Sure.
year
Yeah.
is going to be unbelievable. Like I cannot imagine what her 2020, like if you look at her upcoming films, she is working with tour directors. She's working in giant films. Her upcoming three are really unbelievably impressive just to have as in her in her filmography anyway. Like Asteroid City is coming and Barbie are the two big ones.
Hmm.
But Asteroid City is the next Wes Anderson film, I believe.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've got Roman Coppola and Wes Anderson writing it and Wes directing it, and Margot Robbie's the lead. With Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Steve Carell, Ed Norton, Tilda Swinton, Hong Chow. Like Hong Chow is also another one. Like buy stock. Like she's killing it in every film she's in. We
Hmm.
didn't get a chance to talk about The Whale. There's a lot of back and forth right now. I think Hong Chow's performance in that film is unbelievable. We didn't talk about it very much, but boy, she's amazing in that film.
Yeah, and everything she does, she's pretty great.
She really is. All right, let's end it there. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, John, for
Ho ho ho.
all this amazing content we've been creating. It's super fun to try to break these films down. As you heard, I think we really spent a lot of time trying to diagnose and digest this film because we both saw it in the last 24 hours. And I still think it's a film that, if you ask me about it again in a month, it'll probably be a different review
Mm.
because I won't have as visceral a reaction to the like length to its like sort of messy, not really focused individual story. But
Mm.
I do think it was an experience I'm glad I had, and no surprises here. Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt put in great performances. I'm excited to see their next films, like I was just talking about. So, Merry Christmas! Thank you for being a part of this, and follow us all over the place. We're geekonfilm.com, geekonfilm.com on Twitter, Instagram. Rate and review us 5 stars. Merry ho ho.
What an amazing, great gift that would be during the holiday season than a
It,
5-star review,
it
or
really
just
would.
we'd love some feedback. Just like, hey, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Um, we've got some episodes in our backlog that are still being listened to, so that's really great.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, hopefully
Yep.
this 2023 will be even better.
I can't wait to talk about our year in review. Talk to you next week. See ya.
Bye.
This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.